So guys, I have now played through most of the story for Star Wars Outlaws now, and one of the things that I haven't really been doing that much is really looking into the whole expert side of things, because that's how you ultimately unlock new abilities. Now, I didn't really know a huge amount about the system going into this game, honestly, because I did sort of go in blind regarding that. I knew they were how you would actually get new abilities, but I just didn't actually know how it would work, whether you'd have to keep like going back to them and doing things, all this and that, which I know probably sounds a little bit silly. But in today's video, I just want to talk about the experts a little bit. I won't be going into spoilers for them, but I really do feel like this is going to be a useful video for those of you who are maybe rushing through the story a bit and are finding things a little bit difficult, because certainly as you go on, it does get a bit harder. So make sure you do these things before going too far into the game. But before I do get into all of that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel for more Star Wars Outlaws content. I've got a fair bit to come over the next few weeks, so make sure you don't miss out on any of that. But getting straight back into it, the game seemingly has a total of 9 experts, potentially with a 10th, but I haven't seen anything indicating that other than the fact that there's just an empty slot in the middle. Now, Bram, as all of you will know, is the first expert from the game, and that's just because he's, one of the very first characters we see in the game, which means that there are a total of 8 others, and they can be found on different planets. There's a couple on Toshara, 1 on Kijimi, a couple on Tatooine, and a couple on Akiva. Now, most of the time, these experts aren't actually part of the main story of the game. Once you get to those planets for the very first time, after about half an hour to an hour of playtime or whatever, essentially when you end up in the cantinas, because that will ultimately happen, you will hear chatter about essentially one of these experts being here or there. So the game very much encourages you to go and speak to them whilst you're on the main path, but it's not something you actually have to do. And for most of the game that I've actually played so far, I actually haven't gone and spoken to them, so I only really had access to about 2 or 3 experts, when I could have had access to about 7 of them. So my main tip here is honestly just speak to them as soon as you can. As soon as you are able to speak to these experts, they will send you on a mission. We saw one of them with the Jawa expert in the IGN early access preview gameplay a couple of months ago, and by doing that mission it unlocks the ability to then unlock more abilities from these experts by essentially filling out certain criteria, whether that's defeating enemies in a particular way, destroying enemy ships in space combat, and plenty more. But by doing these missions, and I will say they are a lot of fun as well, with some of them you'll get access to key items like slicing technology and whatnot, which the further you go on through the game it helps massively. But then, like I said, you also then get access to essentially all of the abilities to be able to unlock them all at once. So by unlocking all of the experts as soon as possible, obviously for some of these experts they will come a lot later in the game, or if you just planet hop you might be able to unlock pretty much all of them fairly quickly into the game as well. But regardless, unlock all of the experts as soon as you can, because it then does actually mean that you'll be able to essentially upgrade all of your abilities at once. Now, each expert has a total of 6 abilities each, which means that by simply playing the game you could be making progress on mathematically 54 different abilities all at the same time. Realistically that's not the case, because some have unlock criteria by completing a previous ability, but still, by going around and collecting items, defeating enemies in different ways and so on, you can see that progress really rack up, which means that you unlock loads of abilities that will help you out massively the further you progress into the game. I don't feel like I've got too much longer to go in the story, but I definitely felt I was getting to a point where I was struggling without all these experts and having these abilities, so I did actually spend a good hour to an hour and a half going back and actually unlocking all of the experts that I could at the time. And I know for a fact that once I get to my final planet of Akiva, I will be doing that as well as soon as I unlock those experts, because it will really help as time goes on. And I feel like I am already starting to see that, but it is also just super satisfying just to see that progress constantly going up. But that is my recommendation to you guys. Before you get too far into the game, make sure you do unlock those experts, because it will make your life so much easier the further you progress into the story. And of course it just unlocks access to a lot of different perks, like the slicing kit. There are places around the towns and everywhere that requires a slicing kit, which you can't do without having the slicing expert. So one final time, make sure you go and do that. The missions, like I said earlier, are actually a lot of fun as well, and they're not too big either, so I would highly recommend that for you. Hopefully you guys did find this video useful, and if you did, be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already, and leave a like on the video. That is it from me today though. Thank you all very much for watching, and may the force be with you always.